Today we're talking about peppers. I'm going to teach you everything I know on how to grow peppers, take care of peppers, and harvest peppers.
It's a lot.
Hi, I'm Derica.
And I'm Brian, and you're watching City Steading. If you want to learn to grow and brew and take control of your food, click the subscribe icon down below and hit the little bell. That way you'll be notified every time we do something new.
Today we're talking about peppers. I personally love growing peppers. One,
I like eating them.
they're really easy. Two, as Brian whispered to you, we really like eating them. And three, there's so many different varieties and options in peppers that you can go anywhere from the super spicy Korean chili to a nice mild sweet pepper. Now, we don't grow bell peppers here because I happen to be really allergic to them. I can eat spicy chilies till I
And the sweet ones.
burst into flame, and I can eat sweet ones that aren't specifically bell peppers and be completely fine. But a bell pepper, doesn't matter what color it is, I don't know, what they just don't work with me.
Bad things happen.
So, what you need to know to grow peppers is first, they require full sun. That means they need an average of 6 hours of direct full sunlight per day. If you don't have that option because your sun moves around too much because you have lots of trees, it's very tedious and annoying, but you can put castor wheels on the bottom of your pots and just scoot them around so that way they're always in sun. I don't have that issue. We live in Florida and sun is never a problem here.
I was going to say 6 hours is like, wow, we get that by noon.
Yeah, so that's not an issue for me. Another reason why we really like growing peppers here in Florida is that they're one of the few plants that doesn't have an issue with the Florida sun and heat. So right now, it is September, and it is still incredibly hot. That's why we're doing a garden video indoors.
Can I just say something?
You can.
Today's actually the last day of summer in Florida. You know what that means? Not a damn thing. It's still 90-something stupid degrees outside.
It's really, really bad. And I'm stressing because I really want to get our fall garden going, and I want to share the soil prep with you guys.
It's just so hot.
But I can't stand like 5 minutes out there, and I'm just
I can't imagine that the seeds would
crazy
want
mess.
it that way either. So
yeah,
I don't think we're hurting anything.
So the fall garden prep will come to you. Just we have to wait for fall to actually come to Florida. So
some of it's already filmed.
Yeah,
We just need the last bit.
All right, so besides the full sun, they need a soil that has really good drainage. They do not like to have wet roots. They are heavy drinkers, so they need to have a moderate water retention.
My kind of plant.
But it can't just stay in there and soak. So what we recommend is that you want to have a dirt mixture like the dirt mixture we made in Dirt on Dirt. That one. And you'll see one of the key components that is in that dirt mixture is compost. That is organic material that incorporated into your soil will help retain the moisture without it being soggy. So as long as it has that organic material to retain the soil, the moisture, and it's a loose, well-draining soil, then you will have both of the water requirements set for your peppers. If you are new to composting, Thor agrees. If you're new to composting and you don't know the details of what to compost or what not to compost, please check out our compost video right there. And don't forget to check out the companion article on our website that goes into more details. All right, so full sun, soil that is enriched but well draining. Plenty of organic matter, that's the compost. Now, these guys we bought as plants. You can see their little tags. These are sweet bananas. I personally really love sweet bananas because they're a sweeter pepper that doesn't make me sick.
They're very versatile too.
They grow bigger than this. That's already a decent sized pepper. So sometimes if they get wide enough, we can actually stuff them, which is extra yummy. And they have a really nice mild flavor. So we've used them in cheesesteaks, we've used them in Mexican dishes, we've used them in Italian dishes. They're very versatile.
Sausage and peppers.
Sausage peppers. So we have 3 plants in this container. I believe, do you remember what size this is?
10 gallon?
I think it's a 10 gallon.
Like that?
I want to say it's a 10 gallon.
Can you imagine a 10 gallon hat on your head? How does that work?
So I would not put more than 3 pepper plants in a 10 gallon container. In fact, this may have been a little bit of overcrowding, but because we get way more than the 6 hours of full sun, they have been really happy. They have been producing peppers like crazy, so that's worked out well for us. If you're going to start peppers from seeds, you want to make sure that you know what your last frost date is. Here in Florida, we don't really have much worry about frost dates because sometimes we don't even have a frost date.
Most times we don't.
So for us, we can start pepper plants from seed and not worry about their extensive growing time. So if you are in the north and you have frost problems, buying a plant rather than a seed might be your best option, unless you have a greenhouse or an indoor growing space. Because then you don't have to worry about that frost date so much. Sweet peppers and generally mature between 60 and 90 days, and that's from seed to producing fruit. Hot peppers can be kind of finicky. Sometimes they go as long as 150 days. So that might be problematic for those of you that deal with an extended winter and frost time.
Well, what if they started them early? Like, are they supposed to start them early in the spring so that they get the full?
So ideally, if you have an indoor space, you want to go ahead and start your seeds. So you're going to start your seeds indoors 2 to 3 weeks after the last expected frost. Now we know frost can kind of sneak in there, but you have a general idea of when normally your last expected frost is to be. So go ahead and start your seeds indoors 2 to 3 weeks after that time. Most of them are going to sprout in a week, as long as they're in temperatures between 70 and 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Hot peppers, however, can be finicky. And so I'm going to show you a trick to get your hot peppers to sprout. What you're going to do, these happen to be jalapeno seeds, is you're going to take 2 pieces of damp paper towel and you're going to space your hot pepper, whatever variety you choose, seeds on that paper towel. Make sure there's space in between them because what we're trying to do is get them to sprout. You
probably can't see it, but there's almost a perfect grid pattern of seeds.
You're going to make a little packet and then you're going to place that packet in a zip top bag. This will help retain the moisture from the damp paper towel and give it like its own little mini greenhouse. You just want to be careful that you keep them nice and flat so that they're not folded over. If you fold over the paper towel over the seeds, it's going to create pockets of extra moisture, which may lead to mold.
So they don't need oxygen to sprout?
Nope. Oh, so now they're in their little packet, and you want to put this in a warm place. The most perfect, convenient place to put these is actually on top of your refrigerator. It's going to stay nice and warm there. And hopefully, unless you have a fancy refrigerator that's built into your cabinets, it's a place that's easy for you to access and not used for other things. All right, it's been 5 days since we created our little mini greenhouse. These have been sitting on our refrigerator, and as you can see, the jalapeno seeds have sprouted. You can see their roots. There are those fuzzy long things coming out. So they are ready to be planted. So this is your trick for sprouting hot pepper seeds. So once you have those set up, you're going to want to keep an eye on them because ideally you want to remove them from their little mini greenhouse as soon as they've started to sprout. Once they've sprouted, you want to have little containers of soil, similar soil to what you use for your mature plants, and you're going to carefully plant those sprouted seeds in the soil.
How long does it usually take for them to sprout?
For them to sprout, it should only be a couple of days.
Oh, wow.
Yep, because this is really giving them the optimal environment to sprout.
That's fast. I didn't think it'd be that fast.
Okay, so after you've planted them in their little containers, after they're sprouted, once you see the first set of true leaves, you're going to move them to a sunny spot. Right. As Brian said, the first leaves that are going to sprout from your little baby sprout seed are not true leaves. So it's actually the second set of leaves that appear that are the true leaves. That's the only thing I know about this.
I had to interject it.
So again, this is specifically directed to those of you that are dealing with frost. So once you've got their true leaves, you want to move them to a sunny spot. If you don't have a sunny window available to you, if the temperature outside is above 70 degrees, it's okay to put them outside during the day and then bring them back inside at night, because you don't want to place them in their permanent outdoor location until nighttime temperatures reach 55 to 60 degrees Fahrenheit. So depending on your location, that's something you're going to have to figure out. Again, those of you that are blessed with greenhouses, you should be okay, and they should be just fine in there.
Can I say something?
You can.
I'm impressed, because I always thought we just kind of threw the seeds in the ground and they grew. I had no idea you did all this work and research on this stuff. It just, there's green stuff. Hey, awesome, we can eat that. That's as much as I knew. See, we have separation of duties around here, as you can tell.
We're lucky here in Florida. We don't really have to worry so much about these temperatures, but in the rare occasion that we do get frost, we have to move them to our greenhouse. Yes, we have a greenhouse even here in Florida. Or if we have plants that are too large, then we do have to cover them in blankets to help keep them protected from that drastic cold. Because our frosts are wet frosts, which can be even more damaging than a dry frost, because the ice crystals can damage the leaves and the plants, whereas a dry frost is just cold.
I've been here 20 years. I think I've seen it like 3 times. And it was like, if you breathed on it, it was gone. By 7 a.m., gone. I saw snow once. It melted before it hit the ground.
Alrighty. So we're going to go over some key points about keeping your peppers healthy. As I mentioned before, you want to water in moderation. You want to make sure that your soil is well draining so that the roots don't stay soggy, but you want to make sure that they get enough consistent water, and that organic matter is going to help retain that, so that way they can drink, because they are a thirsty plant. They are actually vaguely related to tomatoes. So if you are familiar with growing tomatoes, tomatoes are incredibly thirsty plants. They need so much water. Peppers, in contrast to tomatoes, will do okay with a little hit of dryness now and then, because they were originally grown
the hot ones, right?
In southern arid climates. So they're kind of used to that shock treatment, as you might say. Another way to help retain the moisture in your plants is if you put a layer of mulch on the top, because that will keep the sun from leaching the moisture out of your soil. Another thing you want to remember is to not over fertilize. Lots of people will see a plant and they go, oh, it needs to be greener, it needs to be, and they just throw a bunch of fertilizer in there. That is actually really harmful, particularly to peppers. It's going to look to you as it's working and it's wonderful, because you're going to see this mass of green growth, all these leaves popping up everywhere. It's going to get this big bushy growth habit going on. But what you won't see are blooms.
I read about that.
It's putting all of its energy into growing the plant and to not producing blooms and fruit. The reason why we grow peppers is for peppers. So don't over fertilize. If you've added that organic material, aka compost, to your soil, that, at least in our experience, has been plenty of fertilizer for the plants. It continues to degrade over time, re-releasing the nutrients back into the soil. We have never, knock on wood, had to fertilize our peppers.
Peppers have probably been our most bountiful thing we've grown. I mean, all kinds, from the Korean ones all the way through to jalapenos to the sweet ones. We have, at least 4 or 5 different kinds of peppers going at once.
Yep.
And they're, like, continually good. We all, like I said, I thought we just stuck them in the ground and let it go. I didn't realize she did all this extra work and research, because that's how good they go here. They just work. And, oh, look, there's peppers. Let me take them and cook with them today. You know, it's kind of cool.
If
We're
you-
actually calling them peppers, but technically they're chilies. Somebody's going to say it. That's why I figured I'll beat you to the punch. But we're going to call them peppers anyway.
We're combining peppers and chilies into one
Well, technically they're all chilies.
video here because regardless of what you call them, they still have the same requirements. The only difference is between the sweet peppers and the hot peppers because the hot peppers, as I mentioned before, are more finicky when it comes to sprouting from seed. Okay, so back to the don't fertilize. If you really feel the need to fertilize, I would suggest waiting until you start to see the first blooms, and then you can give it a little boost by sprinkling the fertilizer around the edges. You don't want it too close to the plants, or if it's liquid fertilizer, the same situation. And you want to use a 5-10-10 style fertilizer. So that is, you'll see right on the bag, it'll say 5-10-10. And that is the different amounts of nitrogen and other components that make up that fertilizer.
I never knew what that meant.
Companion planting, it is a thing, and it's a good thing because what it does is if you plant plants that have a symbiotic relationship, then both plants will nourish each other and grow better than if they're planted just by themselves. So for peppers, their companions would be tomatoes, parsley, basil, and carrots. If you've seen some of our raised bed walk through the garden videos, we might put one right up there for you, you'll see that in our raised gardens, our peppers were here, and then we had carrots here, and on the side were tomatoes. So we used that companion planting guide to help keep everybody happy and healthy. The two types of plants that you do not want to plant near your peppers are fennel and kohlrabi. Now, you will probably not see us plant either types of these plants, mostly because Brian and I both have a shared hatred of fennel.
Not fennel seeds, just fennel.
Okay, another thing, and we haven't done in these plants because we have a really nice thick stalk on these, but many peppers, particularly if they have a heavier fruit than the banana peppers do,
They flump.
they flump. So you want to stake them, and then you want to tie them to their stake with, surprisingly enough, used nylons. Why would you use used nylons? One, because
Couldn't they be unused?
they could be unused. If you don't have somebody who wears nylons.
The nylons part is the important thing, not the used part there, for clarification.
And the reason why you want to use
Sorry, that was funny.
something like that is that they stretch. So as your plant grows, there won't be any stress put on your plant. It'll still stay attached to its stake, but the stretch of the nylon will help it not be restrained. If you do something like rope or a twist tie or something that can't expand with the growth of the plant, you can actually cut off circulation to the rest of the plant and injure the plant. So that's why we suggest using used nylons or some other stretchy material.
There's actually a green stretchy tape that we got this year for the
Yep.
tomatoes and stuff at Lowe's, and it worked wonderfully. I left it kind of loose, but it was stretchy enough that they could grow, and wow, our tomato plants went from like this thick to like that thick.
Yes.
And they were fine.
Our tomatoes were obnoxious this year,
So much so that we're changing our system for tomatoes.
and we will share that information with you in another video.
We're trying to keep this concise.
Okay, so
Notice how I'm not talking.
problems that can occur with your pepper plants. Luckily, one of the wonderful things about peppers is that they're highly naturally disease resistant. Most things don't want to bother them because they contain capsaicin. So squirrels that normally will attack your garden, they might take one little nibble and go, no, thank you. However, birds are not affected by capsaicin. So if you have birds that like to nibble on your fruit, I'm sorry, they're not going to be swayed by capsaicin in the peppers.
Coincidentally, most fowl tastes really good with peppers. Just saying.
Get your revenge and a full tummy at the same time. Okay, so if you have caterpillars that decide they want to eat your peppers, which we have not thus far, we're knocking on wood, you can use BT or Thuricide to control those. I will put some links in the description below to help you find those. There are some organic versions of that available to you through Burpee. Also, if you end up with other issues such as pepper maggots, weevils, leaf miners, leaf beetles, or aphids, you can try Rotenone or Pyrethrum. I'm probably pronouncing these horribly because I don't use these products. Like I said, we've been so blessed that we haven't had any issues. The only issue we did have with our peppers this year was aphids. We tried neem oil and we found that more often than not, the neem oil actually damaged the plants. It's very particular.
I probably overdid it.
You only want to do it when it's not sunny, and we're in Florida, so when is it not sunny?
In the dark.
In the dark. So yeah.
I can see pretty well in the dark, but not that well.
But we did find and create an orange-based product that we made ourselves that worked excellent on the aphids and didn't bother the plant at all. We will share that recipe with you in another link. We just haven't done it yet.
I'd actually like to say something while we're here. You mentioned Burpee. Now that's important because we just got notified a couple of days ago by Burpee that we got accepted to be in their partner program, which means just like we have Amazon links down below where we get a tiny commission, we do the same thing with Burpee now. So you're going to start seeing, mostly in videos Derica does, links to Burpee products. And when you use those links to purchase through there, we get a small commission, so it helps the channel. And it's just a big deal because Burpee's kind of like a really big, respected, trusted company. So that's pretty awesome that they decided to partner with us. So I just want to say that. Okay, it's all you.
Another thing you want to do is you don't want to bother your plant when it's wet. So after it's rained, or if your sprinkler system gets moisture on your plant, you want to leave it alone. And this isn't just for peppers. This is for almost all plants that you grow in your garden. The reason for this is that fungus, disease, other things can infect the plant and bother the plant when it is wet. The plant's natural reaction when it gets moisture is to open up its capillaries to let that moisture in. It'll accept water not only in its roots, but in its leaves, its stems, everywhere.
I didn't know that, but that makes a lot of sense.
So you don't want to fuss with it when it's wet. You want to let it dry, and then you can harvest or prune or do whatever it is you need to do. Another really handy method of pest control is if you see a bug and you know it's a bad bug, use these. I know
or a hammer.
You may be squeamish about it, but physically removing a bug and eliminating it the old-fashioned way is one of the best and most natural forms of pest control.
Pretty sure our ancestors would have eaten them.
Yeah, but I don't know enough about bugs.
I don't really want to go there.
Which ones might be good to eat. I don't know. Anyway, one more thing is you want to keep the soil around your plants weed-free. Now, weeds do multiple things. One of them is they are nutrient and moisture hogs. They have ridiculous root systems and will starve your plants. But another thing that you may or may not know is that weeds tend to introduce bacteria, fungus, pests into your plants' environments.
If they're big enough, they can even block the sun and light.
Yeah. So weeds,
they're just bad.
So
weeds are bad. Okay.
we look at
I had to do it. The opening was there.
We check our plants, especially our potted ones, and we, if we see a little tiny weed like this guy, we just pull them out. So that's a weed. That's as big as I care for them to be in there, and now they're gone. But we are going to show you that something unusual happened in this pot.
Dun, dun, dun.
Bling! That is not a weed. This pot used to be home to potatoes.
Are you serious? The potatoes growing in there?
If you saw our potato video, right there, you will see that when I harvest the potatoes, I dump all the soil out carefully into a bucket and make sure I go through to make sure there was no potatoes still left in there. However, sometimes the potatoes can be little tiny, and I may mistake them for a clump of dirt.
Or a rock.
Apparently that's what happened. So there was one little baby potato in here, and he's growing. And I don't have the heart to rip him out of this pepper plants because I know these guys are nearing...
Well, they're nightshades too, aren't they? Potatoes?
I believe they are related, but they weren't on the list for companion plants.
Oh.
But they weren't on the list for don't plant with me plants
Well,
either.
now it's an experiment.
So I'm just letting it go. I have a real issue with killing a plant that...
Or killing anything.
Yeah, whatever. But he's over there. He's not bothering the other guys. I know they're almost done, so they're going to be yanked out anyway, so then it can be his home by himself. So he is not a weed, he's a potato. Okay. So the last thing that we're going to talk about is harvesting your peppers. As I said before, this is a Korean chili. When they first sprout, they're green. When they first make their peppers, they're green. And then when they mature, they turn to red, and that's when we know to harvest them. These are sweet peppers. When they first create a pepper, they're green. This particular variety can go to yellow, orange, or red. They're not mature until they're yellow, orange, or red. These are jalapenos. All of these are jalapenos. When they start, they're green like this. And then they start to darken, and they almost turn black.
Purple, kind of. Yeah.
And then eventually they turn to red. They are not mature until they're red. After they've turned red, if they start to show wrinkling and cracks, you want to make sure you harvest them right away, because if you let them go beyond that, then they're not going to be worth eating, and they're pretty much just going to be seed peppers.
By the way, this jalapeno right here is from this year. If I was to bite into this right now, I would probably pass out. I like hot food. Our jalapenos this year are easily double or triple as spicy as usual.
Just touching
Many people are telling us the same thing too. Yeah, do not touch your face anymore.
I know. Okay.
You can smell it.
So the dilemma with harvesting peppers is that if you harvest them when they're green, once they come to a size that you like, if you harvest them at that point and you keep on harvesting them at that point, you will increase your yield and you will get more and more blooms and more peppers. However, if you wait till they're mature, they're going to have more flavor. So, what do? Do you wait till they're mature and have less fruit but more flavorful fruit? Or do you harvest them early and have lots of fruit but not as potent?
We tend to wait on the hot peppers till they're pretty mature. Actually, the other way around. We wait on the sweet peppers because they come a little bitter at first, but once they're like bigger and more voluptuous, they taste better. Whereas the hot ones, you can pretty much, like the jalapenos, once they're green and whatever size you want, they're jalapenos. Once they go red, they have a little, like you said, they're a little bit more fruity flavor, but they're hotter. So hot peppers, pretty much, if I need hot peppers, I'm gathering them. Green peppers, if I only saw them this big on the thing, I'm not as likely to make something with peppers that day.
All these that are on the table are just some that I randomly harvested today for this video. I didn't harvest any from our banana pepper because I wanted to talk about how to harvest. So once you've decided whether you're going to harvest, notice Brian stepped back because I have sharp implements.
And you were swinging them around.
Danger. Okay, so once you've decided if you're going to harvest them when they're immature or mature, it's up to you. Doesn't really matter to me. You want to make sure that you are delicate when harvesting them. You don't want to just yank them and try to pull them from your plant that way because, like I said, most of them are going to want to be staked because they're kind of delicate. Their root system isn't as extensive as we may want them to be able to stand up on their own. So you want to harvest them with either a sharp knife or really sharp shears. These shears we use only to harvest vegetables. We don't do trimming with them. We don't do anything else with them except harvest vegetables.
That's why we call them my shears.
So you just clip it right there, and that's your harvest.
Something tells me we're eating something with peppers.
I think so. But it's important to use a sharp implement to harvest your peppers so you won't stress your plant. That is all I can think of to try to help you grow peppers. As I've said, I've given you all the information I have. Half of the stuff that I've shared with you, we actually don't have to worry about so much here because we've been so lucky in not having pests other than aphids bother our peppers. We don't fertilize because we were really particular about the type of soil that we use.
Well, we do, but we use compost and things like that. We're not using commercial fertilizer.
Right. So it's pre-fertilized, and we're also particular about where we get our seeds. Another reason I just remembered about using these only to harvest is that if you use shears to cut damaged growth from your plants, if that damage is created by a mold or fungus or some other, you can spread it with your shears. So keep that in mind. If you do use shears to get rid of damaged material and you want to clean them, you can just soak them in some bleach and that should be fine. I think that's it. Can you think of anything that I haven't covered?
Are you kidding me? I didn't know half the stuff you covered. As always, guys, there's going to be something that we missed. There's something that, maybe you didn't understand or whatnot. Ask questions. If you've probably noticed if you watch our channel for a while, we tend to respond to comments. Now, it's usually me that does the comments on YouTube and Derica takes care of the stuff on Facebook. For this, I might just say, here, you do it, because I won't know the answers to most of these questions. So it'll usually be all right, let me check with Derica and get back to you. So, give us a little bit of extra time here because, now we have to switch duties to do that particular commenting. So just bear with us. We'll get to you.
I will reiterate many of the notes that I've shared with you in the description below, along with some helpful links for the fertilizer, the
seeds and stuff
the
from
seeds, I'll even get some nice shears in there for you.
But not these.
And the pest control.
These are mine.
Those are Brian's. Okay, thank you so much for watching this. Please give us a like, and we look forward to seeing you next time on City Steading.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Hey everybody, if you want to learn to grow and brew and take control of your food, don't forget to hit the subscribe icon down below and hit the little bell next to it. That way you get notified of everything we do.